Hello, world. Welcome to another episode of stuff I am very excited to share with you so that you never have to say, no one ever told me this. And today we're going to be talking about prenatal vitamins. And I want to do it a little bit differently. Obviously, what prenatal should I take? What's important in a prenatal vitamin are some of the biggest questions women have when entering into the fertility space. But even more importantly, I would argue, is the question of when should I start taking a prenatal? And that's what I want to talk about today. And just to lay the groundwork, because I'd be remiss if I didn't, is what is a good quality prenatal? So a good prenatal will have all the critical nutrients to support fertility, conception, and a growing baby. The ingredients in a good prenatal should be delivered in the optimal dosage and be present in the safest, most bioavailable, and easy to tolerate forms. Ideally, the prenatal will have also undergone third-party testing because, as we all know, say it with me, supplements are not FDA regulated, and having that third-party testing serves as a kind of safeguard to make sure that the product is actually potentially free of potentially harmful contaminants, and that what you see on the label is actually what is in the bottle. So there has to be such a high degree of trust between the consumer, so us, and the manufacturers of these supplements. So not just prenatals, truly all supplements, but even more so, of course, with prenatals, because you want to be very confident about what you're putting into your body, of course, primarily for your own health, but also for the health of your potential future children. So with that being said, the way I'll present this is I have a decision tree sort of flow chart that tries to meet you where you're at. So it takes things about you into account, your goals, your anticipated timeline when it comes to conception and pregnancy. And then depending on where you fall, so there are two potential categories for output, we'll go over what the next best steps for you might look like. So really my goal is to just provide you with evidence-based high quality information so that you can make the best decision for yourself. So without further ado, she will share the flow chart. Okay. So the way I started it is the first question asks if you're currently on or have previously been on hormonal birth control. And this truly is all forms of hormonal birth control. So pill, of course, hormonal IUD, patch, shot, ring. And we'll start over here where if the answer is no, or if you have previously been on it, but you've come off of it. Next question would be, are you actively trying to conceive? So if the answer is yes, we would want to put you in the prenatal category. If the answer is no, I would ask, are you planning to start trying for a baby sometime within the next year? And if the answer is yes, within the next 12 months, I would recommend the prenatal category. And I know some questions are going to arise, so I'll try my best to answer them maybe as they naturally come up. So where I'll start here is if that surprised you, is if you're not on birth control, but maybe you're using other forms of contraception, so other methods, there is still a chance that pregnancy could happen. So that's just why having the prenatal during your reproductive years, especially when you're maybe like not trying, but not actively preventing, you'd know you'd like a baby, so you do have the intention to get pregnant at some point. Being on the prenatal and giving your body the nutrient stores and those critical fertility nutrients to prepare for a potential pregnancy in case it happens is really going to be a good course of action for you. So if the answer, however, is no, my timeline is 1+ years from now, I would recommend a personalized regimen. We'll get into what that even means afterward, but that's a separate category that I would recommend. If you are someone who is currently on birth control, same question applies. Are you planning to start trying for a baby sometime within the next year? If the answer is yes, within the next 12 months, the follow-up question would be, do you plan to stop your birth control in the next 6 months or less? And if the answer is yes, so you do see yourself coming off of birth control in the next 6 months, we would recommend prenatal as well. Reason being, it is possible that, you stop your birth control and then you are pregnant in the next month. It does happen. And in that case, you would have wanted to give your body the time to have the nutrient and the insurance policy of the prenatal vitamin for at least 3 months, which we'll get into, the minimum being 3 months. That's probably what you've mostly heard recommended, before you come off of the birth control, because it is possible that, you try one cycle and then you are pregnant. So you want to give your body the opportunity to benefit from the prenatal. If the answer is no, you don't plan to come off birth control within the next 6 months, this is where maybe supplementing with the personalized nutrients for you would be the better course of action. So where I may have surprised some of you is if seeing like the 6 months to 12 months was a bit surprising when you're so used to hearing 3 months. Oh yeah, start 3 months, taking a prenatal vitamin 3 months before you start trying to conceive. 3 months is definitely accurate, but it's the minimum. And the reason 3 months is thrown around is because that's the amount of time it takes for the egg, from the follicle in the egg, and the sperm to develop and mature. And when they're developing and maturing in this bath of nutrients and antioxidants, it's a very conducive and supportive environment. They are very, very high quality gametes. So you have a really high quality egg meeting a really high quality sperm. And that is a really good recipe for successful conception and implantation, and thus a healthy pregnancy. So it's really advisable to definitely start 3 months before trying to conceive, with it being a safe bet to go 6 to 12 months before conception, even better, to give your body the time to use and store all of those essential nutrients. So I guess the natural follow-up question would be, can I start taking them over a year? And at that point, I would say it's not necessarily advisable, especially if you are on birth control and you're not planning to stop in the next 6 months. At that point, a balanced diet and using supplements where you may be falling short will usually cover all of your nutritional needs at that time. So going into the 2 categories, let's start with personalized regimen, because maybe that's a lot less obvious what that is. So my best advice is that blood work is truly the best way to determine what your nutritional needs are at this time. Some of the most important things you can get tested with your healthcare provider are vitamin D, folate, ferritin, and B12, because these are all nutrients that, of course, are essential to healthy fertility. But they're also quite easy to supplement with once you know your baseline levels. So they're also supplements that are relatively safe and advisable for young people to start taking. I do have some recommended brands. So this video is a video form of a blog. I've written about this, so I'm just going to link the blog, which, don't call me lazy, it is, but like that way you have every single link of everything I talk about, and you have this flowchart for reference. So I will be linking the blog itself. And another reason that I recommend the personalized regimen, especially for individuals who are on the pill or have been previously on the pill or any form of hormonal birth control, but a lot of the research I'm about to pull from and what I say next has been done primarily on the contraceptive pill. So that's the one that's most linked to nutritional deficiencies. So the pill has been shown to deplete folate, vitamins B2, B6, B12, so a lot of the B vitamins, and vitamin C and E, so antioxidants, as well as other micronutrients like magnesium, selenium, and zinc. And all of these are very essential to fertility and pregnancy. So getting your levels checked is truly the best way to know where you're actually starting from, and if you're actually deficient. And even if you have a diet that's not rich in animal products, that's where we get most of our B12 from. So if you do have a plant-based diet, typically I would also recommend supplementing, but chances are good that you may need to actually factor in some B12 supplements into your day. So next up is prenatals. If that was your output, where I like to start is we talked about folate, or did we? But basically folate comes up a lot, where it's one of the biggest questions. Like, people say folate, people say folic acid. What's the difference? So to clarify, folate's what's found in food. Folic acid is the man-made version of folate. So it's the synthetic form that's found in supplements. They're both included under the umbrella term of folate, which is where it gets a little confusing, as well as plenty of literature. So research papers will use them interchangeably. So it's all quite confusing, but folic acid is what you'll see on a supplement label. Another layer of confusion is that there is a version of folic acid called methylated folate or active folate. So activated folate, or methylated, methyl just refers like the biochemical group that's added on to the compound to activate it, is your body's doing this anyway when you eat folate or folic acid. So when you ingest a supplement of folic acid, your body's naturally going to want to convert it to the active form. So this is actually what our body prefers. So 95 to 98% of the folate in your bloodstream is this activated methylated folate. Hope you're with me. So basically, what I'm saying is your body's always going to try to convert folic acid to the methylated form whenever possible, because that's the one that actually goes and does the action. So where this gets interesting is there's a very common gene mutation in MTHFR. And what that gene is responsible for is that conversion. So from the folic acid to the methylated form. When you have a weakened version of this gene, so via mutation, the resulting activity is weakened. So you are less able to do that conversion from folic acid to methylated folate. So that's why there's argument for supplementing instead of the precursor, supplementing with what it turns into, so that active form. So you're skipping a step, essentially. You're taking the already active form in your prenatal vitamin. So there's still a bit of a scientific debate, but there's actually quite a good amount of nutritional biochemistry and mechanistic research that does support the taking of this methylated form, because our bodies preferentially use it. There is a risk, potentially, it's still a bit of a hypothesis, of the risk of unmetabolized folic acid. So if you're someone who's not able to do that conversion very properly, this unmetabolized folic acid could potentially build up in the bloodstream and cause issues. I would still call that a hypothesis, but there is emerging research looking into that currently. But there are prenatals out there. A lot of the really high quality ones that I like do have this methylated form. But if you'd like to just get both, there are plenty of ones that combine. So they use a combination of folic acid and the methylated form. So you get a bit of the best of both worlds, essentially. And I have listed one of those down below. So another question is, can I just eat healthy food? A quality diet is absolutely necessary foundation for a healthy baby. Prenatal vitamins are a wonderful insurance policy, because the modern environment is not super conducive to a truly optimal fertility diet. I mean, I'm not eating organ meats and shellfish and bivalves, and I am actually eating a lot of seaweed. I love a good poke bowl, but these are all really nutrient-dense, diverse foods with a high amount of these fertility nutrients, and filling those gaps with the prenatal vitamin at a time where your body has a very, very, very high demand for nutrients is considered to be a pretty recommended and good idea. So if you haven't gotten the gist, quality matters. And I'm someone who believes that something is always better than nothing. Like 5 minutes activity is better than nothing. One veggie a day is better than none. That does apply here too. So obviously, ease of access to your local pharmacy or your store, price, budget, the things that you can tolerate and stomach, the things that you like, if you're someone who could take capsules or not, if you can't swallow a pill or not. These are all things that factor into the decision. So I'm not outwardly telling anyone to do anything. This is all just provision of information. But I am someone who will pay, because of that trust, for voting with my dollar for the higher quality. So my favorite prenatal out there, the one that I plan to use in the future, is from a brand called Fullwell. And the dietitian that created this is super transparent, has done an overwhelmingly amazing amount of research. And I don't know her as a person, but Ayla, if you ever see this, I love you. I know enough about her and have taken her courses that I have a high degree of trust with her. And therefore I would absolutely purchase her prenatal. So that is a $50 for a 30-day supply for Fullwell. But I've also listed a couple other really good brands. One is Claire Labs prenatal and nursing formula. That's $39 for a 30-day supply. And then a really good budget-friendly option, which is Pure Encapsulations prenatal, $28 for a 60-day supply. So I am not actually providing recommendations for you because that would be irresponsible. And I don't know you personally, but these are just, if you asked me what my favorites are, these are the list that I would provide and the reasons why. So I hope that provided a bit of insight and guidance for your decision around choosing a prenatal for you. And stay tuned because I love to share everything I've learned about this topic with you all. So see you next time.